Hi Charlotte.
Hi Chris.
Thank you for joining Talent Unboxed.
You're welcome.
This is something new that we've created, so I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about what's going on in your world and the world of Stay Sure. Firstly, do you want to just introduce yourself?
I hate this part.
Yeah.
This to me. Do you know when you go? Yeah, I don't know. You go on to big calls and introduce yourself. I just never know what to say about myself really. But yeah, I'm Charlotte. I've worked in recruitment now for 14 years. Currently global head of recruitment and engagement at Stay Sure Group. So UK's largest travel insurance business. And yeah, I'm here to talk all things recruitment because after 14 years, I hope I know something.
Yeah, great. I'm sure there's lots of things that you can share with the audience around why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Which we created Talent Unboxed for a simple reason. We wanted to educate the candidate market in terms of what it is that businesses like yours really look for when hiring.
Yeah.
As well as there's going to be some SMEs out there that are thinking, okay, we're growing, what's the best advice that you could give those businesses to recruit the next generation of talent?
Yeah.
And I think from your background and some of the businesses you've worked in, there's going to be loads of stuff that you can offer.
There'll be loads.
We will kick straight off.
Yeah.
So let's just start off with how you got into recruitment.
Yeah.
Because I think, none of us pick recruitment.
No, it's not one of those ones that you go to school and you kind of go, that's what I'm going to do when I'm older. I actually wanted to be Barbie when I was younger.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's not really a job.
Did you have a Ken? That was a Ken as well?
No, I didn't have a Ken, and I still haven't found my Ken. But I think for me, I actually did fall into it, and everybody says that, but genuinely, I was 17 years old. I went into a agency to sign up with the agency. And I think because I'm really bubbly, I always have been bubbly, even from a young age, we just really hit it off. And instead of them finding me the job, they gave me a job. They were like, really like your energy, really like your passion. I think you do really well as a front facing role. I ended up getting a job in an agency when I went to sign up with one, and I was like, okay, and literally it's just gone from there.
The rest is history.
The rest is seriously history, yeah.
So you've described in the past as turning interviews into friendly chats.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've always done, or is that something you've learned from trying to be less corporate, perhaps because of your background? I don't know. Where have you got from?
Like I say, I am really a friendly person, and I think passionate. And I think when you're interviewing a candidate, I really think that when it's like that whole, tell me about a time when, or those types of things. Oh no, we know we
that we
have
those interviews as well.
Competency-based interviews.
Yeah.
And we a lot of businesses still do competency-based interviews, and that's fine. But I just think that when I'm that first person they're speaking to as part of being a face of the business, essentially, they don't want to speak to somebody who's robotic or who is making them feel like it's too corporate or just too structured, really, because no business is that corporate or that structured. I've worked for huge businesses and smaller businesses, and every one of them feels quite the same in that sense of nobody's got it all figured out. So I just feel like when you've got somebody at the end of the phone, or you're on a Teams call with them, and it's kind of like their first interaction with the business, you don't want it to feel like it's really like rigor and robust of let's just cram everything in. Actually, you get the most out of somebody when you're just having a chat. I've got so much more out of candidate conversations by just having a general chat. So how did you get into this? So where's your journey come from? And so I've noticed that the business that you've worked for has done this. What role did you play in that? Rather than tell me about a time when, it actually turns it into a real life scenario of, we did actually go through that. And, a bit of a prompt as well, I suppose, because, for me, when I get asked a competency-based question, I'm like, because I've got that many scenarios, but I can then just not think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But then, have a chat with me and they'll all come out.
Yeah.
So I just think keeping it
more casual.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. You know, we've interviewed other guests on the podcast that have said the same thing.
It's always going to happen.
Not ideal. That's the doorbell, by the way. This is a working office, so that's why we've had the doorbell going off, which I must unplug.
Take the batteries out.
Yeah. So, let's go back just quickly to touch on how you went from high street agency into internal talent.
Yeah.
You know, how long were you doing high street for?
I would say, I think 3.5 years, something along those lines. And actually, the reason that I went into in-house recruitment was because we actually recruited for Green King at the time. So we were recruiting for Green King, and they were one of our long-standing clients, and they had an opportunity for a recruiter role. I think it's business partner, actually. Was it recruiter? I think it might be recruiter. And yeah, I was just like, oh, do you know what? I quite fancy seeing what the other side of the fence looks like. Because for me, so...
Were you a 360 in your high school?
Yeah.
So you had to sell, service, register.
You know, at a young age, you've got the energy. You definitely have. I definitely had anyway. And I loved the sales part, but I didn't like the candidate placing part. How random to then go into in-house recruitment, because that's literally no sales. So it was a bit of a leap of let's just explore it. But I think I didn't like the candidate placing side in agency, because I was running at full speed trying to meet targets. It was a very target-driven environment, and it felt quite transactional, and I probably didn't thrive in that space because I really wanted to make meaningful connections. And actually, you know, and I'm not saying every agency works like that, but this particular agency, I'll never, you know, knock it, because it's where I started from, my foundation and my springboard. But it definitely tested, you know, my want to stay in recruitment, because I was just always thinking, oh, do I really want to carry on doing this? So I just think that for me, it felt a bit too transactional where I was, and I just wanted to explore what that in-house side looks like, and I've literally never looked back, to be honest.
And I think that's quite common, isn't it? When when people make that transition from high street, where it's very target sales orientated, and they move into an internal talent team, when you're focusing on onboarding and, you know, recruitment campaigns and employer brand and all of these other nicer stuff.
I love that strategy side. Give me a recruitment problem, I'm like, yes, like, great, let's go fix this. And I think, you know, just having to focus on one business as well changes the whole dynamics and how you recruit. And I suppose that's probably when I went more casual in terms of my conversations with candidates, because I really wanted to see, I feel like you get a true representation as well, and lots of other things come out when you're having that general chat, so you can really see, is this person gonna be good for the business in terms of how they can have general conversations, because is this how they're going to speak to stakeholders, and is this how they will perform you know, in their role. I think when we're looking at that agency side, for me, like I say, it was just quick, go. So I think for me, in-house recruitment, that strategy side, it's where I thrive.
So do you feel like you're giving candidates more time in an internal role than
exactly
you
that.
perhaps would have done?
Exactly that. So I mean, I always put aside 45 minutes to an hour for my kind of telephone interviews. They don't usually last that long, but I like to give myself that space of, if it runs over, it runs over. And you know, the amount of conversations that have maybe lasted 20 minutes to 40 minutes can look very different. So for instance, I can get something out of somebody in 20 minutes that I can't get out of somebody in 40 minutes. So I always like to leave that time. And I think when you're an agency, it's so, and I also worked across kind of like perm and temp. So if I spend too much time with somebody, I'm like losing. Do you know what I mean? Like I felt like that.
Yeah.
I very much felt like that.
It does get like that, doesn't it? When you're you know, when you're up against it, like you said, in targets and all of that stuff, and you've then got to rush through a registration rather than actually taking the time to really understand what the candidate's looking for, what their skills are, how you're going to match them.
Exactly that point as well, is what are they looking for, you know, is what we're offering actually right for them? Because if not, they're not going to stick. And I think that's probably...
Get credit.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to worry about that now.
As much. I wouldn't say that. I actually probably do worry about it still, because I like to see people grow. So the amount of candidates that I've actually placed at Stayshore, and just to see them grow throughout the business and watch them get promoted and watch them thrive, like, has been amazing. And I think that's also as well a point of where maybe agency for me wasn't, you know, totally fulfilling me, is because I never knew what really happened. You know, you'd stay in touch and make sure, you know, everything's okay after, you know, 6 months, a year, or whatever. But you're not actually seeing what they're doing in that role. But you see it when you're in house.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's move on after the high street then.
Yeah.
When you first internal talent role, you said at Green King. How long were you there?
I was there for, I want to say 3.5 years. 3 years, something like that.
And that was Green King as in the pubs?
The pub company, chain, UK's largest pub company. That was so much fun. Like, I genuinely loved working there. The whole atmosphere. It felt a little bit like agency, if I'm allowed to say that, because it was so much fun to work with the team. Like, the team were just amazing there. And it wasn't actually corporate recruitment that I was doing. It was, you know, it wasn't your sort of like your back office side roles. It was actually the pub managers, so general managers, assistant managers, and kitchen managers. And I think because it was
not bar staff.
It was always management. That was always left to the GMs and the AMs. Exactly. But we were actually recruiting these people to you know, manage these pubs. And I think because of that, it was just so much fun. It was hard work, don't get me wrong. Like, trying to find a kitchen manager that wanted to do certain hours was so hard, but we had to just think of really creative ways to, you know, make it happen. But yeah, so much fun.
And then from there you went into
G4S,
which is again going back into what, the security side, was that? Or,
that was,
because they're massive, aren't they?
Huge.
They've done the Olympics, they do prisons.
I mean, there's I think the G4S had a bit of stick at times where they've maybe not necessarily done well on the whole security front. But yeah, absolutely, they're huge, they're massive, huge business, so fast paced, crazy environment. Like, you know, their office was in Stockton upon Tees, so I was like going from Staffordshire to Stockton upon Tees every now and again. I had a young child, like that was crazy times, to be fair. But again, it stretched me. You know, I think it was a real stretch, and I think that doing that volume side really teaches you a lot. It teaches you that, you know, you need to be really intentional with who you speak to when you speak. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be where you can't speak to everybody, you know, but you've got to make the numbers in order for you to, because it's volume recruitment. You have to overcompensate for the number that you need, and that's always naturally a challenge. And especially as well, trying to get women into that space was you know, a big thing for me. I really wanted more women in security, so we did like big campaigns to try and really drive those, you know, women thinking that they can't have a job in security, or they shouldn't. You know, we needed to bring that presence in because it was so male dominated.
And was that an objective of the business to drive more women, or was that something that you personally just thought, I'm going to see if I can achieve this?
I would say it was probably an objective of our team to begin with, and then became an objective of the business, because I see a lot of stuff now, so obviously still follow them, still see what they're doing, and they're definitely still driving that. So yeah, I mean, it's great that an initiative that the team thought you know, sort of wanted to push has, you know, carried on, really, because women should be allowed to have whatever job. There shouldn't be men jobs and blue jobs and pink jobs, you know. There shouldn't be.
Only in the house.
Yeah.
Taking the bins out.
I'm literally pink and blue. I have to do everything. But yeah, so I think, it was a real... I think every business I've worked in have had its challenges. That was definitely one of the most challenging businesses I've worked for.
Okay. And was it from there that you went into your current company, or was it?
No. So I went from G4S into In Touch Games, which was online casino games.
Right. Okay.
Based in Halesowen, kind of a family-ish run business. It's still a larger business, but was run by a man and his wife. Great business to work for. But this was more where I went into more of like your kind of back office side rather than more of your sort of volume. So I did contact centre, but then also I'd do like, your tech roles and your admin, and that's really where I got that sense of this is what I actually want to do. I want to do more of the back office roles. I don't want to keep doing volume recruitment. It's, I've done it. You have to have a certain energy to keep up with that pace. So now actually being more, I just love that back office side. That's where I lie now. Okay. And then I went to where I am now.
So take us on the journey in Staysure. Obviously, I know you've been there a while now.
I have.
And it's grown considerably through various acquisitions. And, you said earlier it's the largest business in its space.
Yes, it is. So it's the most recognised and larger. It's the most trusted travel insurance provider. So I think when I first joined Staysure, it was in a period of wanting to become more of an insurtech business. So we didn't have online journeys for customers. It was all very much contact centre driven. Which when I think about that now, when it was just literally 3.5 years ago, just over 3.5 years ago, I think, wow, that's actually crazy that they never had, that digital side. So in my first year there, we built a full digital team. There was like 90 plus people that we had to recruit for just in that digital space. Then risk and compliance, and we never had an infosec team, so there was no information security. Yet we were like, this huge company. Everything was like outsourced. So naturally cost a lot of money. So we bought things in house and really built out that digital. A digital space for the business, and started having the online journeys and all that type of stuff. And it really lifted from there in terms of that journey for me, because after we did that, I then got promoted to head of recruitment, and it was then my function to run. I implemented, just before I was head of recruitment, implemented an ATS called Team Taylor. That's a really tech focused system. I absolutely love it. I am one of the biggest advocates for Team Taylor, because genuinely I've implemented systems in every business I've worked for, and none of them have been as good as Team Taylor. I just think it's so forward thinking. There's so many things that the new products that they bring out that they don't make you pay for. So there are add-ons naturally. There's going to be add-ons to every system, but there's new initiatives that they bring out that they don't make you pay for. They just go, we've launched this, try this out, and it's like, great. It's so forward thinking. So I think big thing for us was really looking at team infrastructure tool, what do we need to enable us to kind of carry on this journey. Because Ryan, who owns Staysure, is so entrepreneurial. He owns several different businesses. He always spots opportunities. From when we had COVID, instead of sort of thinking, right, because we were a full travel insurance company, nobody was travelling. Don't get me wrong, it kind of, I think, spiked people's interest more into getting in travel insurance, because obviously it's nice to have, isn't it? You don't have to have it like you have to have home insurance or car insurance. You don't have to have travel insurance. So it's awareness, and I think COVID really shown people the awareness of actually having and the benefit of having travel insurance. But they couldn't just sort of sit with, right, COVID's now happened, we can't just sit still, what else can we do? And there's where Ryan steps in again, and he launches Petgevity, which is obviously the pet insurance side, because people were buying loads of pets during COVID. So it just, honestly, he does blow my mind, because I just think that the way his mind operates is something that I want to be a part of, because that for me is where I get to grow, because there's just so much shifting and changing and moving. And
but with all that shifting and changing and moving, how do you keep the culture? It is hard. So obviously we had our acquisitions. So we acquired Rock. We've also now got Sri Lanka. So Intervest
were always working with us. So it's actually one of Ryan's other businesses, and they've always worked with us from like, I want to say like 2007 now, but on the software side of the business. They housed our software side, and since we've kind of built the shared service centre over in Sri Lanka, we've had to bring it more into where we're one group and we're really working aligned, because there's so many extensions to teams over there that we're always constantly working with somebody from Sri Lanka. So it's so difficult when that's its own culture in itself. You know, Sri Lanka as a country have their own culture. UK as a country, we have our own culture. Different businesses have their own culture. So you are dealing with all of that in one space. It's so difficult. To tackle that, we've done our surveys across the business. That's including Sri Lanka as well. Where are we at? Let's put a pulse on
like
that. Where are we?
Stuff,
where are we? What do we need to see? Where do we need to improve? All that type of stuff. So surveys, acting on the feedback. We call it engage for action. And you know, you asked, we said. You know, you said, we did. So we looked at surveys. We've also just literally launched 2 new committees. So we've got the Events and Engagement Committee. We've got the D&I Committee. So really focused as well with Sri Lanka on how do we, as a business, how do we align? How do we celebrate each other's cultures? How do we create awareness around that? You know, really working as one rather than silos. And we've also, as well, kind of looked at our values. So we've just launched our big new values. And I say big because they're best in class, integrity and growth. Really simple, because I think so many businesses have so many values, or values that aren't actually embedded into the business. So, you know, you can go to somebody, you can say, well, what's your values in your business? And some people wouldn't have a clue. And I think us changing our values to very simple ones that really mean something and can mean something to everybody is where we're now seeing that culture shift. There's a lot of work to do. You know, we've only really, coming up to a year since we've had Sri Lanka as part of the group. So I think that there is still a lot to do, but you can't change culture overnight. You know, you literally can't just go, there's some posters on a wall, we now have new values, here's 2 committees, we're all together. It doesn't work like that. You've got to keep that consistency and really have like an employer-led voice community, rather than it being just from the top coming down. What is everybody else saying, feeling and thinking?
And I think, you know, those big businesses, because how many people do they employ now, do you know?
So stay short. So in the UK, we've got around 480 people in the UK. And then we have some of our contact centre over in South Africa, which is outsourced.
Yeah.
And then we also, from an Intervest point of view, there's around about just over 500 now, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, across tech and shared service. It's huge. Huge.
That is massive. So then it comes to the hiring when you're trying to fit into those.
Yeah.
So I think when I've researched into ahead of this chat, there was a point that was picked up about skill-based hiring versus degrees. Yeah. So where have you seen the biggest payoff from backing skills over credentials? Let's touch on that.
I'm huge on this because I have no degrees. I literally have no degrees.
Neither do I, no.
I went to school, I got good grades, but it kind of stopped there really. I went to college and I did randomly a art and design and photography course, which I literally lasted, won't lie, around 3 or 4 months in. I was working at Mercedes on the weekends as a receptionist and going to college in the it's like Monday to Friday, and I was just like, education's not necessarily for me. I want to be out in the world. I want to be making money. I want to just get out there and just be an adult really. And not saying that people that, go in that education route aren't adults, but for me, it just wasn't my route.
I think you need a clear pathway idea though, don't you? A lot of the time. Although, I think there's people that will do kind of geography degrees, but then never use a geography degree. It's more of
And I do find that. I find that some degrees are bit wasted, to be honest. So going back to your point, for me, it's kind of skills-based hiring versus on degrees is huge. We, even here, so in the finance department, and the finance director will laugh when he watches me on this, because I was saying, guys, let's stop hiring, because hiring against like they need to have XYZ. Like, look how long they have been in this job role. Look at the company that they've worked for. I'll pause for a sec. It's busy.
I'm going to unplug that quickly. Let's just redo that question.
Yeah.
Jesus.
To be fair, what I want to do as well is put my phones over there because I keep vibrating. It's driving me mad.
Oh yeah, move them if you want. I'm propping that open because it keeps slamming.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to restart. Let's restart that question.
Okay, I don't know where I got to be fair.
Okay, so we've cut action.
Yeah.
So let's talk about skills-based hiring. Yeah, because you've mentioned before how skill-based hiring versus degrees and CVs. Where has been your biggest payoff from recruiting skills over credentials? Because I'm a big fan of that. Mm-hmm. And I know that, where there's a skill shortage out there and businesses are kind of focusing on degree graduates, I think they're missing a trick, personally. That's just my view. Yeah,
no, I do agree. I think there is definitely space for where degrees can get you into somewhere, and obviously open that door for you. There is certain niches that you definitely need a degree in to be able to do. A lot in the AI space as well. There's a lot of courses out there as well now that you can do within the AI space. But I think personally for me, so I've got no degrees myself. I'm hugely passionate about this because you can put me in the seat and I can do the job. I don't need a degree to do that. I've got on the job learning, and I've gone through my career with that the whole time. I've never actually done a degree. I've never done any further education actually, which was my own choice. It's very much let's just learn on the job. And I've gained, I feel, more from that than I maybe would have sat in a either classroom environment or saying I've got this certificate that says that I can do it. Mm-hmm. It's the same when I actually was toying with the idea of doing a CIPD, and I was like, guys, is this actually going to help me? I looked at my network and I was like, is this going to help me? What do you feel from you doing it? No, this is probably not going to help you. Mm. And I'm like, oh, right, okay, well, I won't do that then. I won't waste my time as such doing that. Mm. But for me, so, finance has been a huge kind of payoff, I think, in this space for me. We were really, really struggling to recruit finance people for the Northampton office, mainly because they wanted somebody to have a degree for like the last 3 years and they wanted somebody to come in the office 3 days a week. So on the offset, you don't think that's actually a massive challenge. But when you look at, right, you've got the Northampton pool of candidates and you've got this degree that they want and they want them to come in this many times. They have to be in that radius.
Yeah.
That in itself is actually, it's quite a hard ask. Mm. And I think that, when I was having these conversations with the hiring team, they'd always been so used to, no, they have to have that degree to be able to do the job. Mm. And I'm like, they don't. Like, look at this person. This person has done this job for 20 years. They have done everything that you have asked for in the brief. This person has got their degree for 3 years, but they've only had 2 jobs and not quite sure, whether they're going to be at the level that you want. Oh, right, okay. Why don't you interview them both? See how they get on, see how you feel, and see if that degree is as important as you're telling me you need somebody to sit in that seat and do it now. Like,
and I do you know what, when you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking, if they didn't have you pushing that, they would be struggling.
Yeah.
The same way as if a business isn't using a really good recruitment consultancy that's saying, look, you should see this person.
Exactly right.
Because on black and white, if you're matching job spec to CV and that person's missing a few bits or doesn't have that degree that you're insisting on, they're going to miss out.
And that's where it sets agencies apart from each other. So you can
agree.
How many agencies are there in the UK? How many? There are.
Too many. There should only be one, and that should be us.
Obviously. No, but seriously, there are so many. I am inundated with so many emails and messages, even on my personal email, you know, and things like that. Like, and I'm just like, what are you going to give me that probably the next agency got? And it's all about that relationship building, and it's all about, can they partner? 100%. Can they really partner with us as a business and understand our nuances, you know, where we're struggling, you know? And I think that's also where the recruiter that you're speaking to from in-house comes in, because there shouldn't be this in-house versus agency.
We're going to come on to that.
We will come on to that. But so for me, it's really about how do you connect that brief with each other, and also give them the insight that they need to know about your business, that where they've struggled in the past. So I would be massively open and say, oh, by the way, you know, I've tried this. I've kind of pushed on this. This is where we fall down. You see how you get on, type of thing. Rather than go, there's the brief. Not give you any insight. I think, you know, that's not really setting somebody up for success. No. And it's really where that partnering comes in, rather than just you're an agency.
Okay. So if you could change one thing overnight in terms of the hiring practices that you're seeing in the market right now, what would it be? Or is there not one thing? There might be multiple things.
There is so many. I mean, I think that would be definitely one of them that we've just touched upon. But to kind of give another,
just finishing that bit off.
Yeah.
So looking past education and looking at skills.
Yeah.
Would be.
Yeah, it's a huge one for me, because I mean, I just think that with on the job experience and testing somebody's actual skills rather than their skills and knowledge, rather than what they've got on paper as a certificate, is it's two different things for me. You know, I think there's absolutely a space for where you need to have a degrey, and there's also so many spaces where we don't need to put that complexity in there around the brief. I just really think it depends on role, and depends on what the business is actually looking to achieve. What's the landscape? You know, if you're wanting somebody to come in and really hit the ground running, you're going to probably have to tweak a little bit around, you know, what's the absolutes and what's the, you know, nice to haves.
Yeah. I think, you know, we like to practice what we preach a little bit, and some of our best performing consultants have come from out of industry.
Yeah.
You know, I remember speaking to one guy, and he said to me, and this was somebody I was like, well, look, we're really struggling with salespeople.
Yeah.
And he said, well, why don't you look at people that are big on fitness? And
I
was like, okay, explore that with me a little bit. And he was like, look, if someone's really big on fitness, or they have been in the fitness industry in some kind of played sport, or you know, they're a bodybuilder, or they're a PT or something, those guys understand the difference in doing the reps. Yeah, they're like, how if I continually practice, I'm going to get better and better and better.
Yeah, it's that consistency and energy, isn't it? No, absolutely, I can see that.
And we tried it, and it really worked.
Yeah,
you know, and we've tried other people from outside recruitment, and you know, we've got some of our leadership team started off as apprentices.
This is it, isn't it? You don't have to stick to one path.
No.
You know, and there are so many transferable skills out there when you're doing a certain job that you know others might not look at, but us as recruiters maybe do, because we're like, oh, you know, well actually if you've done that, you would have done this.
Mm. So what's the single biggest mistake that you see on a CV? From otherwise, what would be a strong candidate? Yeah.
I see so many CVs, and I look at every single CV.
Yeah.
So every single CV will have my eyes on. What I'm looking for is structure, grammar. And don't get me wrong, I can't spell all words, but like grammar for me, you know, it's your CV. Like you're going out there with that. That's a representation of you. So that's why when people do the whole AI version of CVs, they don't land, because you can totally tell.
So can you spot an AI CV?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can totally tell. You can see that it's not, nobody speaks like that. It doesn't need to be. Yeah. For me, a CV needs to be a true representation of your personality. So my CV is absolutely this. Okay, so it is not where I'm trying to use huge, massive words or anything along those lines. It says exactly what I've done, exactly what part I played in achievements, my commercials, everything that somebody would need to know to see if I have been able to do that job and how well I've done it is on my CV. So I think structuring it, being at your actual own self, not an AI version or a too corporate version. Also as well, tailoring it to what you actually are going for is really important. Now everybody says that, but I mean in a way of, not, you don't have to do it for every single job, but why keep something on the CV that maybe was from way back when that you don't need them to know?
And do you know what? I think the people that make the effort, and I think you're right, the CV is your shop window. Yeah. And some businesses love CVs. When we hire here, Helly and I typically won't even look at the CV.
Okay.
We'll have had a glance at it, but we won't use it as a framework for the interview. Yeah. It will be, tell us about you. Yeah. Let's have a chat. Quite relaxed in the initial stages. And I think what people underestimate when they're applying for jobs, which then gets them frustrated when they send it out to 100 jobs and then don't get any responses, is because they're not taking that time to adjust it based on the profile or the job spec or what it is the businesses are actually looking for. Yeah.
Look at the market right now. Yeah. We have gone from a candidate-led market straight back into an employer-led market. There are so many candidates out there right now looking for a job. And,
Well, recent stats, sorry to cut
go on, no, I love a stat.
Is, when I did some research before starting today, with the current level of unemployment, it's 4.5 applicants per job.
So,
which it doesn't sound like a lot.
I think that I still, because if you think about the amount of jobs, there is still a lot of jobs out there. But if you put that into perspective, I still think that that's quite, you're up against.
Yeah. And you're up against that, and you're up against AI for a lot of what is now considered, administrative tasks or any job that can be automated. Yeah. Is now, businesses are looking at how they can create more capacity for the rest of the team by introducing tech, right? And AI is leading the way. But I think that if candidates were to just take a little bit more time and stop being so, happily applying, that they would see a greater success.
I think when you are sporadically applying for jobs, when you do get that call from a recruiter and you're so on the back foot of you don't even know who's calling you and you didn't even remember that you applied for the job, genuinely that is an ick for me. And I hate the word ick, but it is an ick for me because I'm like, look, so I can call somebody and say, oh, by the way, you've applied for the job and, I'd love to get 20-30 minutes in with you just to have a chat about your experience and I'll tell you all about us, you tell me all about you, and they're like, which one was this again? I'm no. So I just think that if you are on the market, just be so intentional on where you're actually applying for. And also as well, businesses are looking for passion. They're looking for people now that have that passion and that want to be in your business.
This is true. And a bad hire is 3 times salary. And that so businesses need, and they're not daft, right? They know that the level of jobs being in the market is dropping. So unemployment rates are rising. AI is taking all these jobs away that, like we've just touched on. So what can an SME do? Yeah, just thinking about your now experience in a bigger industry. What's the one thing that an SME could steal from the way that Staysure hire?
So, I mean, you'd think, because of how large we are, that I have got this warhorse of a team behind me and I actually haven't. So I'll be honest with sort of where we're at. So I had a team And then obviously naturally we moved to Sri Lanka. A lot of the recruitment is kind of focused in that Sri Lankan space. We still do a lot of the UK recruitment, but that's me. I am that person now. So it's all on me. So I think that you don't need a huge budget. You don't need, a huge team to make success. It really is about the person that's in the seat. How are you driving it? What's your strategy? How can we keep consistency, but also building pipelines all the time? I think for me, having people in your pipeline that aren't for jobs that you've got open at the moment but might be is so important. So like always making time and relationships, and it's hard to say that because there isn't a lot. I don't have a lot of time, like I don't have a lot of time at all. And I think
what she means is she's really hard to get hold of.
Really hard to get hold of. And I hate it because I've got so many LinkedIn messages and I'd love to get round to them all, but I can't. I physically can't. And it's hard. But I think a few things for me. A great ATS is absolutely important.
And you can get applicant tracking software, thinking about the SME market, for relatively cheap now.
I think ours is so cheap.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely think ours is so cheap. I've implemented systems that are like 40k plus that don't even do what ours does. And this system is like...
Well, we partner with a couple of ATSs because we also have the ability to put in careers pages and stuff. I know that there's options out there for SMEs that want some kind of platform to hold all their applicants in, be able to short sift them. And,
absolutely. And the same with the one that we use, Team Tailored. They have, I designed all of the career sites. That's all in with the ATS. It's got AI enabled features that do help. So, for instance, if you are short on time or you've got a small team. It will kind of suggest applicants for you. So let's say they've been in your database and maybe they've not got through to certain stages or whatever. It will suggest candidates against the role that you've just posted. You can send automations out from there as well, and things like that really help when you haven't got a huge team to keep that candidate journey alive. And also I think like sourcing tools and things like that for use. But I would say that when you haven't got a huge budget and a huge team, you just really need a great ATS, a really good system in terms of what's your plan. What is your plan to hire, and keep that consistency. And I think just work with be creative with what you've got. I don't have a huge budget. I'm just so creative what I've got. I have Canva, so Canva Pro, like £100 a year, and I'll put all of the LinkedIn stuff through that. So just design some stuff and put it out on there. I think it's all about creating that brand, however you can, in the cheapest way that you can. If you're not a huge company that's got this huge budget, and I would say that I practically act like that in a large company.
Okay. Great advice. Let's talk about AI, because I've got two more questions. One's about AI, and then one's about agency versus internal.
Okay, right.
Which I know you're also quite passionate about. So, how is AI? You've touched on the businesses exploring it. Do you use it with your ATS? A little bit about smart matching. Where do you see that going in your space, and how realistic is it that it's going to affect how you hire or?
So for me, AI no-go is sifting CVs. That is, I am hugely passionate on candidate journey. Like for me, a candidate will remember. So when this does a full 360 and we're now in a candidate-led market again, because it will happen where we go into a candidate market again, and they will remember how they got treated, or they'll remember how their friend got treated by that company. And also, I think some businesses do forget that some of the applicants are customers. Like when you think of it like that, you have to have that lens on, that commercial really lens on of, how I treat this person is how they're going to remember. So AI sifting CVs for me is a huge no-go. It doesn't spot, what a human would spot. So for me, the amount of
when it comes to that skills base over
this is it over black and white. Like yes, they've got a degree, or yes, they've done this, or yes, they've got 3 years experience. That you've asked for that tick. If they haven't, gone. Mad for me, because you're losing so much talent. Like, I've had so many conversations, this is genuinely straight up, I've had so many great conversations with people that are nowhere near right for the role, like seriously, and I'm like, by the way, did you know we've got this role over here, or actually this is coming up? AI is not going to do that for me. No. I'm the human in that, in that part of the process that can pick that up.
It comes back down to the relationships you build, the pipeline you build, talent sourcing. It all plays a part. And AI, yes, it will do it to a degree, but it won't drill into the stuff you feel passionate about, which is skills-based hiring, where you might find it's a struggle for qualification. Skills can replace that in time-served roles, right?
No, absolutely. Definitely got a place. I am an advocate for AI, and we need to lean into it, but it's how we lean into it. And I think this is where, we've just launched our AI Academy today, and this will hugely, create our landscape of how we move forward as a business with AI. That's not just in a recruitment space. This is across the whole business. What are we doing? How are we using it? Are we being compliant? How can we make sure that it's, the best for the customer and, the employees as well? So I think there's so much that AI can do, and we all, bang on about it so much, but absolutely no go for me is the sifting. I will always continue whilst I'm in recruitment to do that. And if I actually ever went into a business and their journey was, oh, by the way, don't worry about the front end because that's covered by AI, I'll be like, I'm thank you, no. Genuinely, because I just feel so passionate about candidate journey. I've got so many emails in my inbox from people that have actually been declined and not actually got the job, that has raved about how well that the recruitment process was, the best that they've ever experienced. That for me is a win. It's a huge win. And I feel if I let our AI do that part for me, I won't get that feedback. Our NPS scores are fantastic and I actually send the surveys out to people that haven't got the job. Not just people that got the job, people that haven't got the job. And when you're still getting...
It's good to measure those stats.
I think it's really important.
Because otherwise you're just going to continue on the basis that you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there is areas to improve, great, highlights those. Okay. But yeah, I think got to be really, really, really intentional with AI.
Great. Okay, so we've covered AI. I want to talk about agency versus internal.
No, I'm joking.
So this is where we get the gloves on and start,
Blue corner.
Obviously in the past you've used agencies to support you, right?
Absolutely. In every single business that I've worked in, I've used agencies. I've not had any qualms about using them. I think there really is, and I did a podcast at Recfest a couple of years ago on this. I really definitely think there is definitely still a agency versus in-house feeling out there, but then I think it depends on what your relationship's like with your agencies. So where I feel that is a case is where people they're just letting any agency in, and it's not actually intentional in that space. Like, so for instance, if you have a PSL, or you're an open door to whoever knocks the loudest, you're gonna probably have that feeling. But if you open the door to the right people that come to you in the right way, so actually want to build a relationship with you, you can trust them, you can be honest with them as well. So, this is where we're honestly at, what do you think, how have you and we both share across, what's your experience of that, of this problem that we may have within this space of recruitment. That's where you're really, really going to get that relationship, and you're going to find that you've got a great extension of the team, really. I think it should be. So I've got no qualms in using an agency whatsoever. Ryan, for instance, might go, right, we've got to stop agency recruitment.
So that's interesting that you say that. Is that because he sees the pure financial element of the fees around?
Yeah, well, so I think that, the business when I came along, this is straight up, the business when I first joined was doing 75%, I think it was, through agency and 25% direct. I was blown. I was like, what? Like, I've never seen spend like it in my life. Like, my whole career, I've never seen agency spend like it. All the agencies out now will be like, God, why did she go there? But like, it was mad numbers, and numbers that you just couldn't sustain, and there was no point in having an internal team in that stage. So there was a lot of work to do around. The business kind of had hiring managers that naturally would divert from recruitment and go straight to agency, and he didn't even know it was happening. So we had all these like invoices coming through that
hadn't gone through the talent
team, and you know, I'm talking like hundreds of thousands. Like,
I remember it.
It was mad. So what quickly had to happen was some sort of, you know, rigor around, right, we need to put in place, once it hit that a vacancy hits XYZ, you know, let's say it's a certain amount of time live, or actually they've completely, you know, exhausted the market. Right, let's explore that agency piece then. You know, who have they got on the books, or you know, who do they know in certain areas? Because obviously, you guys, you've spoken to so many people from so many different companies that you naturally will have people in mind, or you know, you'll have people come to you that want to kind of find a job through you, etc. So I think there's always that space there, but yeah, I think really for him it needed to happen. And I'm so proud of how we've managed to really cut down on those costs, but then equally as well build relationships with strong agencies that when we do need, we can pull on and we trust. That's important.
And here's a question for you. So do you follow the brand, as in, you know, you were working with ACS, you're dealing with Chris moves to somewhere else. Do you follow Chris or do you follow
that's
the brand?
Such a good question. I love that question. And I'll be completely honest, yes.
Which one?
I would follow the person.
You follow the person?
Yeah, genuinely, I definitely would. And that sounds...
And I think, you know, I think it's a really important thing, because a lot of businesses in our space, you know, it's like we touched on earlier, it's all about the metrics and the numbers and getting out the revenue, right? Which is important because we're commercial businesses. Yeah. But I think there's a balance between that and then treating your consultants well. You know, like our average tenure here, we've been going 15 years. I think we've got people that have been here 14 years. We've got people that have been here. I think the average is 7.
Yeah, that's really, that is really, really good.
Which we're really proud of.
That's, something to be proud of.
But I think we're not under any illusion, and I think some businesses in our space are, which then generates a bit of a revolving door with businesses like yourselves, is are you going to be speaking to Chris in 6 months, 12 months time? Yeah. Because if we're not treating Chris well, he's going. And he's going off somewhere else.
And that's, do you know what? And that is a reflection of a good agency. Yeah. If you've consistently spoken to the same person for a period of time at the same business, well, you know they're happy, and if they're happy, they're going to do the job well for you. Yeah. You know that it comes hand in hand.
Of course it does. Okay, so we're going to start wrapping up. I've got a couple more questions for you. So what's exciting you about the next 12 months at Stayshore?
International.
And what's scaring you?
Oh, international.
So international and international.
Oh, yeah.
So does that mean foreign travel for you, or what?
I've been to Sri Lanka a couple of times now, you know, just hopped on the plane. Sri Lanka, I love Sri Lanka. Absolutely amazing country. Everybody's so lovely over there. And it's always a great experience because, you know, you're meeting with the team and you're gaining that real kind of team vibe, rather than if you're remote, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, international scares me. The reason it scares me, well, no, I wouldn't say it scares me. It excites me first. It definitely excites me first. So we launched, and this is just for purely the Stayshore brand. This isn't for the other brands at the moment. Just definitely focused on that Stayshore space. You know, we're really well known in the UK. We need to build that again over in different local, you know, countries. That's hard. That's a hard ask. We're not Boots, where you'd know everyone, you know, and or larger companies where household brands that you would, you know, kind of know. So I think international is going to be a real test to, you know, how I, as a global head of recruitment, really look at that strategy and really look at how do we piece everything together. The culture, touch on the point that you've made before. Let's not create any more cultures and stuff like that.
Try and bring everyone together.
Yeah. So I'd say it excites me because there's going to be so much to get stuck into. But yeah, I think it will be a test on my role, because I've got to A, deliver, and B, you know, keep that engagement and, you know, that culture piece at a level where everybody's happy, and that is hard. So yeah, I'd say that really.
So excites you but scared at the same time, just because it's going to be such a big task.
It's going to be huge, absolutely huge, but so exciting, and honestly, the opportunities that it's going to create, I'm really, really excited for. Really, really excited, and hopefully I get to go to some of these lovely countries. I mean, Italy's on my list.
Okay. Pasta, pizza.
Oh, it's literally my fave. So yeah, hopefully I get to, you know, touch down in one of the countries. That'd be nice.
Okay, great. So that's the next 12 months.
Yeah.
If people want to reach out to you, you know, and you know, you might have candidates out there that have watched this and think, oh, you know, I'd really like to understand more. I know engagement is a big part of your role as well. How do they reach you?
See, now this is where I don't want to over promise. And I'll be honest, I will be totally honest. I'm a one-man band at the moment in terms of the UK delivery and delivering engagement and managing the Sri Lanka team. And my inbox is full. My inbox in LinkedIn is full. Or it should be full. There should be a full button.
Or turn it off.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
Because like I say, candidate journey is so important to me.
Yeah.
But unless you come through that system, it's going to be really hard to get to me. And I'll be honest. Like, I'm just being completely honest with where I'm at the moment. Is that always going to be the case? Hopefully not. You know, hopefully it won't be. If anybody ever needed advice, you know, then I'm always here, and I'm always willing to have that type of chat. But if somebody said, I've seen this role and I'd like to have a chat about it, you've lost me, because I can't spend that time at the moment I don't have in that space. You know, it needs to come through that channel for me to manage it properly, and how I feel would be the best way to manage it. So I would say I am available in terms of, if you ever need career advice, if you ever need CV advice, if you ever need anything like that, I'm here. I'm always willing for that chat. If you're interested in Stayshore, the genuine best route is to come through the system, is to apply. There's also a connect function on there as well, so you can connect to different departments.
Upload your CV onto the ATS,
all of that.
The talent pool building.
Yeah, because I genuinely look at every CV.
Yeah.
So you are going to get to me.
Yeah.
But it's just, right now for me, LinkedIn is too full.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't.
Makes sense.
I can't give it.
Makes sense. Okay, so I want you to finish the sentence. Okay. Most businesses say they hire on values. What they actually hire on is...
They actually hire on how well someone does an interview.
Right.
Oh, gosh. For me, I think we have kind of touched on this, but competency-based interviews are not for everybody. They're not for me. Like, genuinely, if you put me in a competency-based style interview, you're likely to think, how is this woman... No, all right, I'll probably give myself an injustice there, but I don't feel like I'm very good at them. I feel like I'm good at this. I feel like I'm good at having a chat, and you'll get more out of me, and you'll know what I've done. But I think that what we tend to see happen is that somebody can do really, really well at interview, and they'll go,
they take the best person on that performed
did really well at interview. Right, great.
Yeah.
Some people are really good at interviews, some people are not. So I've probably been up against other candidates in the past that have interviewed way better than me, but maybe I can actually do the job better. Who knows? Like, for me, when you're hiring, don't get me wrong, you obviously have to make sure that you've got that, you know, that fair process, and you've got your competency style based interview, or some sort of, you know, scoring and structure, so that everybody has that same process. But I think that sometimes we've got to get our head out of that sometimes, of go, right, this person is great in an interview, they've done really well, but actually this person has done X, Y, Z in this job, they've proven that they can do this. Even if there's a task involved, you know, sometimes tasks can really help filter out who's good at interviewing, who's actually good at doing the job.
Yeah.
So I think, values sometimes comes into it, but I think businesses do hire on who smashes it out of the park at interview, which is controversial, because obviously you want somebody to do well at interview because you want to have confidence in, you know, but that, I don't feel like it shows their true ability, if I'm honest.
No, I would agree, and I think there's a argument there that we do recruit for the person who's performed best at interview. And what I think the difference between a good hire and a bad hire is if you keep doing that and seeing bad results, it's the businesses that keep changing it up and mixing it up and trying something new are the ones that are going to succeed until they find their way.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many businesses that we speak to that will say, well, yeah, but we do this, like referencing. Like, yeah, we want free for your past 2 employers, but what are you doing it for? Oh, it's just the way we've always done it. And I think it's the businesses that are stuck in that mindset of this is how we've always done it.
Yes.
Are the ones dropping off.
Yes.
Whereas the ones that are ability to mix it up, change it, let's try something new.
Try something new. And I think
succeed.
Again, this is where I love being at Stayshore, because I've always been empowered to try something new. Never have I been told, that's wild, don't do that. Like, all right, they might think it's wild, but it's good. Let's go see. Let's go and see if this works. It's a real test and learn environment. It's a real, like, let's just go and test it.
The talent market is changing so quickly all the time.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on in unemployment, what's going on in the world, what's going on with this, it all dictates how people's behaviours are. Like, we've touched on it on quite a few points. And I think, as a final thing, if businesses, is it fair to say that if businesses just dip their toe in and try different stuff, they're probably going to see better results? Would you agree with that?
1000%.
Okay.
1000%.
Great stuff. Well, listen, it's been really great having you on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've loved it. And, who doesn't love having a chat over a coffee and speaking about recruitment?
There we go. Well, listen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to sharing it with you and speaking to you again.
Thank you.
All right.